Go ahead.
Okay. So when did your family come to the U.S.?
My father's father came in 1875 because of conditions there.
Okay.
There was more opportunity in the United States. Yeah, well, he could speak and write Italian. So when he came here, the immigrants who still had families in Italy used to come to him, so he would write the letter for them. And then when they got a letter, he would read it to them.
Okay.
So he made a couple of bucks that way.
That's good.
Yeah.
And so you were born and raised in Brooklyn?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what did your parents do? Where did your dad work?
He worked for the sanitation department in New York.
And who was the first person to get drafted to the war?
Well, my oldest brother, who's 6 years older than I was, he was with the National Guard, and in 1940, they federalized the National Guard. They made it part of the Army. So he was at Pearl Harbor.
Oh, wow.
They shipped him to Hawaii, him and my cousin Ralphie, and they were at Pearl Harbor.
Wow, okay. That's pretty cool.
My oldest brother, Dan.
Yeah.
Anthony, my second brother,
Yeah.
because there were three of us, he enlisted in, the war was declared in December 7th, 1941, and he enlisted in the Army in, maybe 20th of December,
Oh,
just
wow.
before Christmas.
So
He's running through this field and he falls in this hole. And he looks around and there's all these wine bottles and these cheeses. And it says, he looks up and he sees these guys running, getting shot, and says, "The hell with this baloney." He stayed down in that hole. I don't blame him. I would have stayed there till the war was over. He could eat and drink. Right? What else is there? Yeah, my mother had three of them.
she had three of them?
And when they had a golden star, that meant the person got killed.
And then what were the other colors for the stars?
Just, it was like a pet to the flag, and the stars were vertical. But they were just white for being in their service, and gold meant the person that was in the service was killed.
Okay.
I got drafted, I was 18 in 1945.
Okay.
I spent a year in, from 45 to 46, and then I was discharged. And in 1950, because I had joined the Naval Reserve, I was recalled.
Okay.
And I had to do, and I didn't have to do, but I did 2 more years during the Korean War.
Yeah.
Bainbridge, Maryland.
Yeah?
There's a big training camp, a big station there. Everybody from all north, like New England and Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia even came up. Even Florida came up to this Bainbridge, Maryland. Big recruiting, big training station. The first time I went in, I went up to the submarine school up in New London, Connecticut. And I caught a little PCE, 185-foot ship. And we used to go from Portland, Maine, all the way down to Key West, Florida, and back up again. That was our patrol.
Okay.
It was a PCER 853. I got pictures of it. That's Patrol Craft Escort Rescue. In case anybody got shot in the water, we can go get them.
Okay.
One day, we're coming out of Connecticut, New London, Connecticut, and it's really stormy, a really miserable rain, and it's getting cold.
Was icy.
And we're going down to Virginia, and the wind and the rain, and as it's hit the deck of the ship, it would freeze. And the ship, you would be in, I was at the control of the starboard engine, answering the bells, and you have an inclinometer, and this thing is going like this. And you don't mind it going like that, but when it's hanging there now, it's ready to plop over. Because what happened was the rain was icing, freezing on the decks of the ship, and so the ship was getting top heavy. And so that's when we pulled into Staten Island. And I got home because I lived in Brooklyn at the time. So I ran home. I was recalled in September of 1950, and I caught a repair ship that went around through the canal and up to San Diego. And we used to have a string of maybe 8 or 9 boats tied up alongside, 8 or 9 ships tied up alongside us. And every day, these guys, everybody had a skill on that ship. Carpenters, ship fitters, plumbers, that's a ship fitter, electricians. What they would do is they tie up alongside us, and we send these men over, and they actually, any repairs that ship needed, we could provide. We even had a forge, a foundry, where they can actually make, say you needed spoons. We could actually make a spoon.
Does she know where the forge is, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Meanwhile, we supplied power. They were coal iron, so we had to supply the power, the electricity, the heat, the steam, everything we could supply. The USS Delta. Auxiliary repair ship number 9. We serviced a lot of, practically the whole Pacific Fleet. We went to Hawaii and we anchored there for a while. And then when I got off, then she went to Japan, Sasebo, Japan. And she anchored there.
Okay.
But I got off before we went to Japan. My time was up and I got home.
Okay.
It was very, well, when I first got on board, there were 3 racks. The rack is a bed situated by 2 poles, and this thing with springs that you could fold up during the day when nobody was in the rack, and you could have a nice clean operation to clean the decks and all. And the seating arrangements, the sleeping arrangements were, first guy was about 8 inches off the floor, and the next guy was about 18 inches between that guy and this guy, and there was 4 guys in there. 4.
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4. The top guy, the top maybe he had about 10 inches between him and the top deck.
Oh, wow.
Well, the other guys I mean, if the top guy had to go to the bathroom, we'll say, he used to have to step on. That's why everybody wanted the top rack. You want to know why we won a war? Because we're Americans and we're good. We're a conglomeration of every country in the world, and that's why we can't be whatever any nationality has something that contribute to the United States of America. That's why we're so good. We have Germans, we have Englishmen, we have French, we have Italians, we have all Russians. You mix that all up and we have the best of everything. We could do anything in America, and that's why we're so good. Because we're a conglomeration of Swedes, Norwegians, and everybody. And when we were fighting the Russians and the Germans and the Japanese, we had Germans and Japanese sitting right next to you, eating at the same table, but they were Americans, and that's why America is probably the greatest country in the world, because we are made up of all nations. And probably take the best of all nations, and that's what we have.